Can you have beans with IBD? Let's chat about it. So, a lot of people are surprised that beans are actually really gut friendly and helpful when it comes to reducing disease activity with IBD, but they also happen to be one of those very common symptom triggers. So, how do we bridge that gap between tolerating something that's gut friendly and reducing some of the symptoms? And where do we find that balance? First off, do you enjoy beans, Danielle? Do you like including beans as a part of your regular day to day?
I do. I do. I wouldn't say right now I have them daily. I feel like hummus more so I have on the daily and beans kind of like a few times a week. For me currently, I am building my tolerance back up with beans. So I guess like keyword there is building tolerance, right? Like we talk about this in YouTube all the time and with our patients, but we have this common thought with beans and IBD that it should be something we'd never consume. And when we think about where that comes from, I think it's because they may be symptomatic for people and often symptomatic because people will have a large portion of beans all at once. And more often than not, I think most people, if they have a large chunk of beans, they're going to be gassy.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think too that we don't often leave space for the fact that both things can be true. They can be beneficial for gut health. They can also be symptom trigger,
Yeah.
and just the fact that they're all different. There's different tolerability even within beans, and most people wouldn't think about, like, when we talk about legumes as a whole. We don't often think about the ones that aren't commonly thought of as legumes, like tofu or soy. Like, soy is a bean, so we don't have to think of it like that, or even peanuts, right? Like peanut butter.
Right. To be honest with you, I think I even did that when we were chatting. I mean, yeah, it is something that when I think beans, I think of it in a different way, even though I know it's part of the legume family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But one of the real great benefits with beans is that they're great at being a fuel source, and they're like essentially butyrate producers. So they help encourage the growth of gut bacteria that produce something called butyrate for us. And butyrate is a really important compound within the gut that can help with lowering inflammation and improving gut integrity and repair of GI cells. So it does a number of different things within the gut. And that's why it's one of those key foods in terms of food diversity that we want to have present, because there's lots of benefits with it.
Absolutely. With beans, not only do we like them for their butyrate producing qualities, but they're also a key part of other nutrients, like, well, fiber, of course. Some are higher in magnesium and iron, protein as well. Oh, what'd you say, Ashley?
Oh, folate too,
Oh,
like,
folate too. Yeah.
yeah.
So there's lots of good components to it. And it's something you include frequently in your weeks, hey?
Yeah, I would say I do a lot of tofu. So I definitely use that as like a common thing that I'm including. I do a lot of soy milk. I do, come to think of it, I the past couple weeks I haven't done as many legumes as I would normally do. I used to get in like a habit of doing a lot, like crunchy garbanzos, or stuff like that, or even like mixing it up in there's even like desserts and stuff where you can use garbanzos are a favorite for me, but that is one of the harder to digest ones, I think, like in terms of the spectrum of digestibility. When you say garbanzos are a little on the higher end of,
Of
from my memory.
the fermentability of them.
Yeah, just their tendency to be one of the ones that bloat at lower quantities. But one of the things that I will do when my gut's a little more sensitive is more of a refried bean. So mashed up pintos. With refried beans, I'm always looking at the added ingredients too, just to make sure it's kind of just, your pintos and salt and that sort of thing. But yeah, sometimes I'll do that if I'm a little more sensitive, as really as a way, even in flares, like as like a flare friendly kind of thing, to bring in some butyrate producers that are softer, but and easier to digest. And I start small, like I'm not doing a whole plate of pinto beans or anything, but sometimes like a half a cup even can make a big difference.
Absolutely. And with this too, Ashley, IBD and beans, I think, people watching can understand we want to include beans in our diet. But why do we think that sometimes people with IBD are nervous or scared for them?
That's a good one. Yeah, I think some of it's come about in the blog world and probably on YouTube, where people talk a lot about lectins. Lectins is one side of this, but when you cook a bean, the beans are naturally high in lectins, but when you're cooking them, the majority of that is gone. They're really not. It's really overblown, like the conversation about lectins, and you really have to look at everything like what's the cost benefit ratio, and the benefits far outweigh the drawbacks. First, even when we're talking about a canned bean versus making it fresh, sometimes people get nervous about that. They're like, "Oh, it's too involved, and I don't want to do canned." Sometimes people have fears about doing canned, thinking it's worse. But you really have to stop and think about like the benefit, like the major benefits that you get from beans that you don't want to miss out on. And if it's more convenient to do like a canned version, then you're better off doing a canned version. Yeah. So I think that's definitely part of the conversation. And then I would say in the IBD world specifically, I think the conversation, how often we hear low residue, being the go-to recommendation sometimes for people. But I think it's really meant to be more temporary majority of the time. It's not meant to be a forever thing. When someone tells you to go low residue or low FODMAP, it's that I think people interpret that as forever, but really it's meant to be a stopgap most of the time, like, temporarily reduce symptoms, but it's not a sustainable or appropriate recommendations for the long term, because we know people that are on those types of diets longer term, they're going to have lower diversity in the gut and, not as great outcomes in the long run, the long haul.
Well, there's an exception to the rule that we also would like to discuss, is that in IBD, there's something called a stricture that may happen. And a stricture is you're told about it through your GI, and sometimes your diet may need to be modified. So a stricture is a narrowing of the intestine, and fibrous foods may not always be able to pass safely through. In this case, they may need to be modified. So, blending, pureeing, making sure your liquid is on point for your day, that kind of thing are some considerations to think about. But having a conversation with your doctor and dietitian about beans and strictures can be really helpful, because there may be a type of different legume that you can still tolerate, whether that's the nut butters, tofu, soy, other soy products, or even blended lentils into soups may be something to try. So there's adjustments to continue to get the benefits of these fibrous and lovely plant foods. It just may need to be adjusted if you do a stricture.
Yeah, and I'll say, with strictures, there's different types of strictures. You can have inflammatory strictures, where those strictures go away whenever inflammation goes down, or you can have scar tissue strictures, or a combination. And scar tissue tends to be a little more longer term, and or sometimes surgical in some cases. And some people will have strictures long term and have zero issues, and other people may have very severe strictures that do actually limit their diet. So we've really seen all over the board in terms of the patients that we have, of different ways that can look, and different tolerability. But working with someone can definitely help. And if you're somebody that struggles with fiber and diversity and being all of these things, it would be worth your time to work with someone like a dietitian who has specialization in IBD, because we can really cater a lot of those things to you and help you with symptom reduction. Because I think a lot of times we think medications will be like the thing that solves it all, but sometimes it's only solving like the inflammation side and doesn't always address the symptoms. Sometimes you do need to work with a dietitian to get a little bit of symptom relief.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Ashley, I guess like quick thing to end our little episode, what's one of your favorite bean or legume recipes? What's the go-to in your kitchen?
I don't know if this is cheating by using tofu, but
Uh,
but I'm like loving the shredded trend right now. I think I even sent you a video yesterday
yeah.
how you can like press the tofu and then you can shred it on like your cheese grater or whatever, and it makes like a crunchy tofu. And I love like a crunchy tofu sort of thing. So I love that. And I also discovered like on your cheese grater, there's like the other side where you can make slices. Like
I get just one little slit, right?
yeah, and you can actually shred it to make what do you call it? Like the gyro type
Oh,
meat. So you can mix, it's tofu, but you can mix there's like a flavoring profile. Definitely seen a lot from Plant U, what's her name? Carly. She has a lot of great she's taught me a lot about how to use tofu and how to really prepare it well. But yeah, I learned that from her that you can make like a gyro sort of thing. And I thought that was really kind of cool. There's so much you can do with tofu. And I will add the thing I know you don't like tofu, but I'm not trying to sell you, I promise. but but I love that it's so cheap. We can get tofu for like less than $2 here.
yeah.
And with like the whole um, cost increase, tofu, great option for if you're on a budget. And it's a good way to bring in legumes. It's with tofu, there's a lot of good evidence to support, you know, re- reduce reduce colonic inflammation and that kind of thing if you're consuming a good amount of it long term. So I love that. That's my latest thing is the grating tofu. But I think previous to that, I was really into like crunchy garbanzos.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
so much variety you can do with them.
Yeah. What about you? I want to know your favorites.
My favorites are, I mean, I feel like I always have to throw a sweet treat in there, but like chickpea blondies,
Oh yeah. Oh, this is your one of your faves. Yeah.
it's pretty tasty. And it's such a surprise that chickpeas can taste like that. I mean, obviously you throw other stuff in there, but it's amazing. And I'm really a big fan of tacos. So I'll do like black bean and sweet potato tacos.
Oh yeah. You can't
Yeah.
go wrong with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Those chickpea blondies are really good. I remember I made that a couple times when we were testing recipes for the cookbook.
Yeah. So endless options. And we specialize in supporting people with increasing their legume intake.
Yes. So if you need some support or need any help or want guidance or customized to you plan for symptom reduction, improving energy, or reducing your risk long term, reach out. We're going to put an application where you can apply to work with us, and we'll get back to you with some options if we think you would benefit. And yeah, let us know if you need support. We'd love to work with you. All right. Take care, everybody.